Big thanks to Baksu for sponsoring this video. More on them later. Talonflame? More like talent? Lame. So I recently did a video covering some of the most unique names in Pokemon, and I don't want to give you too many spoilers on that one, but I can assure you, Talonflame was nowhere near that list. Honestly, it's probably the worst name they've ever come up with. In fact, it was featured in our other recent video talking about the worst names in Pokemon. Imagine that! It's like they didn't even try. Like, even its Japanese name, Fiero, which is a combination of fire, arrow, and sparrow, is better, in English, than Talonflame. I do get why they didn't stick with it though. It's too close to Fiero, and Talonflame is in no way a sparrow, but at least it's a portmanteau. Why not Fire-Eagle? Pyregreen? Hot! I could do this all day! And it's not like that stopped them from doing Kung Fu after doing Kung Fu! Well, at least Fletchling and Fletchinder have pretty okay names. We'll get to the etymology later, but looking at their general appearance, we have a Robin and a Robin. No, really. Despite being radically different in appearance, both the Fire Robin and American Robin act as great fits for the pair, respectively. Admittedly, this is a bit of a cheat, since American Robins aren't true robins, but a species of thrush, a group of medium-sized songbirds found throughout the world. And the name itself was due to a lapse in understanding by European settlers. They noticed that the bird had a bright red breast, and it's just like the European robins back home, so to them, it was the same bird. Yeah, it's a European robin, except it's in America, so let's call it an American robin. Wow. Yeah, people weren't that bright back then. The flame robin, on the other hand, is a true robin, and I don't think I need to explain why a bird called the flame robin would inspire Fletchling. What's more surprising, though, is that there's another type of robin that's an even better fit, the Japanese robin. Wow. Forget Starly and forget Talo, that's literally just a Pokemon. What's with all these regional birds being just literally an animal? When comparing this robin's behavior to the behavior of Fletchinder outlined in the Pokedex, both are extremely territorial, and both will raise their tails as a warning flag and ferociously peck at anything that gets too close to its nest. And this behavior is so ingrained within Fletchling that they brought it to Smash Bros of all places. Like, in my friend group, we literally always screamed when a Fletchling came out. Legitimately the scariest Pokemon in the game. But of course, for a big muscular guy like myself, I barely feel it. Go! Yep, not a thing. And even though I mentioned that the American Robin isn't related to the other Robins, don't you dare, it behaves similarly, as well. So much so, that the red breast serves no courtship purposes at all. Instead, it acts solely as a warning flag. Don't you even think about it. But just like the Fire Robin, the American Robin isn't the top contender for Fletchinder. Take a look at these. These are waxwings, and they are a family of crested songbirds with small red or yellow tips on their primary feathers that appear dipped in the wax used to seal letters and envelopes. Like, think of wax candles with a little flame on the tip, like these little flying birds with their little flaming tips. Yeah, fire flying type. I do spot me many similarities between these good and deep cut origins. But as for Talonflame, all we need to do is bring attention to its Pokedex entries. When attacking prey, it can reach speeds of up to 310 miles per hour. It finishes its prey off with a colossal kick. Its favorite foods are Wingull and Picky Peck. And also the contents of today's sponsor, Baksu, which means I gotta finish these fast before Talonflame gets to me. Oh, I see the light over the horizon! Baksu is a premium Japanese snack subscription box. Every month they send you a thematic box of authentic Japanese goodies from family businesses all over Japan, sometimes highlighting seasonal festivities and sometimes showcasing treats from specific Japanese regions, and sometimes both. This month's theme is Sakura in Kyoto. Look at this one. It's got a little man, a little dog, a little bird, a little monkey. Oh, it's that dude! Who was that dude? I could not tell you what that is. And thanks to the unique culture guide included in every Baksu, it becomes an educational experience as well. The best kind of education, really. Pure potato. Pure potato! Swear. I can't hear my own thoughts, but it tastes so good. Baksu makes an excellent gift, and it's perfectly okay to get a gift for yourself too, especially when I have a discount code for you. If you click the link at the top of the description and use the code Lockstin, you'll get $15 off of your order and help support this channel. Look, it says Gâteau Soufflé. I love everything about French cuisine as soon as it's made in Japan. Soufflé. Oh, that needs some tea. And every box has a tea of the month. Oh, all right, I ate everything. Now, what was I saying about Talonflame? Its favorite foods are Wingle and Picky Peck. It attacks with a powerful kick and grasps them firmly in its talons. Oh yeah! We have ourselves a clear-cut peregrine falcon! Not only are their appearances strikingly similar, but this speed bit, now that's the cherry on top of this flaming chicken sundae. Peregrines aren't just the fastest birds on the planet, they're the fastest animal, period. It can't quite reach 310 miles per hour, but it does clock in at an impressive 240, making it faster than NASCAR's. Though, granted, they don't reach these speeds fully on their own. Rather, they use gravity, falling with style and all that. It flies really, really high up and then begins a dive with its very aerodynamic body. First, the bird will forcefully flap downwards to increase the acceleration, and then it tucks its wings into its body to reduce drag. And that's basically it. It practically ejects itself out of the sky. And as you'd expect, the purpose behind this is to hunt prey. It's truly genius if you think about it. On top of the insane speed requiring anything it's after to have incredible reaction times to avoid it, this strategy also eliminates unnecessary noise caused by flapping wings. Meaning, the only way to avoid getting hit is to see the falcon falling from the sky, register that you're the target, and still have time to move, or hope it misses somehow. Which rarely happens thanks to their immaculate eyes. And when they reach their prey, they will either grasp it with its long and agile talons, or it will take a more stylish approach. Falcon kick! Whoa! It just used its speed to break the duck's little neck! But speaking of ducks, what if I told you there was another bird that fit the bill, even more than the peregrine?
Seems like impossible watch time bait. How could there be another bird out there that shares even more similarities with the fast and French bird Pokemon than the fastest bird on Earth that happens to live in France? There's no way Talonflame isn't a falcon.
Technically, you're correct. We're now dealing with another species of falcon, the brown falcon from Australia. On the surface, sure, it looks like Talonflame, but most falcons already have this spotted, striped body with tear-like eye pattern thing going on, so that's not saying much, like it's a falcon. But wait until you hear about their hunting strategy. The Australian outback is a scorching, desert-like, scrubby climate that sees regular brush fires popping up throughout the dry season. And though it is a regular occurrence in the region, it provides very little benefit to any species other than pyrophytic plants and animals that find new food sources or homes after the fire subsides. But one notable exception to this is the brown falcon. These guys thrive off of fire. While fire is a nightmare for small rodents and marsupials fleeing the blaze, this provides the perfect hunting opportunity for surveying raptors to swoop in. But they don't just wait for the fire to bring out the food, oh no. In what is probably the most metal hunting method I've ever heard of, they will purposefully spread the fire to areas it naturally would have never reached by grabbing a stick, flying just above the flames to purposefully catch the end of the stick on fire, and airdrop it over unburned shrubs where it thinks its food lives. And this right here, this fire-wielding behavior has rightfully earned the brown falcon the nickname of the Australian Firehawk. And just like peregrines and most birds of prey for that matter, their main weapon is their talons, which is why it's such a significant part of its crummy name. And hey, while we're on the topic of names again, let me uphold my promise from before and revisit Fletchling and Fletchinder. Each member of the evolutionary line has these distinct pointed arrows on their tails, growing a new one each time it evolves. This almost definitely is done to signify the increase in speed each evolution gets. But when breaking down their names, you get a Fletcher Fletchling and a Cindering Fletch. For those unaware, a fletch is the feathery part on the tail end of an arrow. Looks kind of familiar, doesn't it? And the arrow connections don't just stop at the fletch. Remember that poking trauma we faced a bit ago? Under this new context, can't we interpret their beaks as the arrowheads on the arrow and their big tail feathers as the fletch? Now, this is going to sound really, really stupid, but if you think about it, arrows are kind of the weapon equivalent of birds, are they not? Like, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but when you say it out loud, it just sounds right. Arrows, the birds of weapons. Still not convinced? Well, what if we were to set them on fire? The arrows, not the poor little birds. What if we were to set the arrows on fire? Flaming arrows away! By dipping arrows in tar, armies from almost every nation across Eurasia used these weapons. During their first iteration, they were mostly used as an intimidation tactic rather than serving an actual wartime advantage. In some cases, they could be used as marker points so that firing armies could see whereabouts whereabouts their arrows were landing while still in the dark, and could then readjust their shots accordingly. But most of the time, flaming arrows would burn out before even hitting the ground. That is, until they were used in conjunction with the very bird-shaped crossbow, which allowed them to be fired longer distances. They also modified the arrow and bolt designs by twisting the wiring to create a basket or cage structure where the flammable material could be packed into, and thus the arrow would burn longer and also have a harder time being put out. And doesn't this black cage look kinda like closed talons? Or is that just me and I'm grasping at straws with my on-fire talons? Well, this new design let them finally be used as a useful distant fire-starting tool to destroy wooden structures like towers and ships. And yes, in the Middle Ages, the French used these weapons too, though they didn't invent them or advance them in any meaningful way. Though it is worth noting that during the 14th century, right in the middle of the medieval period, Islamic forces were quite fond of French crossbows. In fact, they called them cos al French, this word, and it directly translates to Frankish bow. Oh yeah, the French were known as the Franks first, since they were always a bunch of wieners. But yes, the Franks used crossbows so much that many outsiders referred to crossbows as Frankish bows, even though the Franks didn't invent them. That honor goes to the Chinese in the 4th century BC. But it's not the first time non-French items have been assigned to the French. I mean, you got, what, mayonnaise, toast, fries, keys? Yeah, keys. The heck is Clef Key doing in Kalos? We did a video about that here. It's actually really, really cool. I know you'll love it. Check it out. Never stop using your noggin.